Yo, everybody. Today, I am talking about how in the last 24 hours, I have had two patients absolutely break down in here and start sobbing uncontrollably. And if you're new to following me, my name is physical therapist Dr. Ryan Welton. I have a clinic where I call it the I've failed everything clinic, where people come in here, nobody knows what's wrong with them after 20, 30 years type thing. And I treat the same things all day long. I treat SI joint dysfunction, sacral torsion shear, which I believe in my clinical experience, and I published statistically historic papers in readership, that SI is the most common cause of chronic back pain, especially when nobody can figure it out, SI sacral dysfunctions. So I see the same things all day long in here. So I generally know what's wrong with people without even touching them because it's the same thing, same stories. But so both of these patients had very similar histories. So I had a pretty good idea of what was going on. They had all tried like physical therapy, chiropractic, they've done the injections, ablations. Um, One of them, I believe, had surgery, if I remember correctly, last night. Um, and the patient last night, okay, the patient last night, I thought she had a stroke when she walked in here. Like I thought this was a stroke victim because she had a quad cane and she's literally going like this. And she's like 50. And I'm like a 50-year-old walking with a quad cane, like this, right? And she's like, oh God, she's shaking, right? Like my last patient, shaking, and because she's in so much pain and she's like, nobody has any idea how much pain I'm in, but nobody knows what to do about it, And she's like, I think from what I talk about online all the time and my marketing, my targeting, and all that. And I think you know what's wrong with me, she said. And in my head, I'm thinking this is mechanical. Tried everything, mechanical stuff doesn't show up on x-rays and MRIs, right? So anyway, so this lady last night and just now had an upslip of their pelvis, out flare, and their tailbone was twisted, okay? I published a paper called Root Cause of SI Joint Dysfunction, where I propose in that paper, I have an SI joint clinic, I propose in that paper that SI joint dysfunction is caused by an upslip and or outflare. So you can join my group below, my school group, SKOL, just click the link, join it. And I'm teaching in there much more in depth on how I diagnose and treat this, and with even clinical mentorships with live Q&A and all that stuff. I also teach a hybrid business clinical course where I teach you how to open and run one of these cash-based clinics where you get paid a premium, but I teach you the clinical skills to be confident to be able to charge that much and have people see the value because you know what you're doing. So the patients had, when I asked them to extend back on the PSIS, both of their left thumb translated superiorly on the PSIs. So that told me they had an upslip of the pelvis, okay? So I pulled that back down, okay? And then I find it's SI joint dysfunction in my paper I proposed that it's caused by an upslip and or out flare of the pelvis, up out, okay? So I laid her on her side, went like this, gapped it open. Now, in both of these women's cases, they've had it for like 15 years. So like, it didn't take all of their pain away, make it better. But what I did is I put a ball between their knees and standing. On my school group, I talk about this much more in depth. It's free. And I put a ball between their knees and I had them squeeze and standing because that causes outflare gapping. Okay, adductors, biomechanics causes outflare gapping, right? So in both of their cases, it made them better. And then in my last patient, I just applied some overpressure like that. Okay, when I did, pain was gone. Okay, including in the SI joint referred pain pattern, which I find can go all the way down into the front of the ankle and cause weakness. Okay. It's pretty wild. So, anyways, when I see this, so I teach people how to open and run a highly successful cash-based clinic where one therapist charges $400 for 30 minutes. If you want to join my free school group, I'm talking about it in there in depth. This is very different than your typical cash-based clinic. Okay, this is a clinic where I teach you the clinical methods that I use in here. So because these patients are paying a premium and they expect to get better. I generally don't feel worried that my patients aren't going to get better. Every once in a while, somebody gives me a run for their money, for my money in terms of, like just one that SI joint that takes forever to stabilize type thing. But generally, I'm not too worried about it. But this patient that I just saw in here just broke down, and the one last night broke down, just sobbing. And I told my business students that teach them how to open and run a cash-based clinic with the clinical methods, where you get all my courses 59% off and live instruction, and with coaching by me. And I tell them, I said, get ready, because I have this targeting down and these ad sets down on how to get these chronic pain patients, bless me, these chronic pain patients to see that you actually know what you're doing, so they don't feel like they're wasting their time. I just had a guy drive 2 hours to come see me this afternoon. He's like, whatever, man, if someone knows what's wrong with me, it is that joint. And I teach them how to open and run one of these clinics, but I told them, I said, get ready. You are about to see something you never thought existed, because I never thought it existed. And years ago, like around 2009, I was started to get proficient at SI joint. I started opening up SIs, up slip out flares, and rotate people's sacrums back, and boom, pain was going away, right? But every once in a while, I would see a patient in here that would like tell me they didn't want to live anymore type thing, and I'm like, but they had SI joint. I'm like, really? SI joint's causing that level of pain? And then like I would see again, like somebody that was totally desperate like that, and then I would see it again, and then I would see it again. And I'm like, oh my God, and I remember actually, it was like a moment. I'm like, oh my God, all of these patients that are coming in here sobbing, telling me they don't want to live anymore. I'm like, these people all got the same problem, and I'm like, oh my God. And most of them told me, I've failed everything. I've had it like these last couple of patients, 15, 20 years. Nobody can even imagine how much pain I'm in. And what I told this, so see these jagged edges? Okay. It is shearing bone pain in their back. Now, this last patient I just saw was a nurse. And I said to her, I said, listen, I said, do you know, like, I'm like, you don't have cancer. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just using it as an analogy. Do you know in medicine when somebody has bone cancer, right? And the doctors are like, yeah, what do you want? Oxycontin, throw some oxycodone onto that, some Vicodin, right? Whatever you need. Because bone pain and nerve pain are another level of pain in medicine. We learned that in school, right? And that's what these people are experiencing with this chronic SI joint. Now, I learned in school that you just feel pain like over, like over your SI. No, 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 no. These people have pain from here, and you know that if you read my paper or take my courses and start using my diagnostic method, open it up and watch the pain relief that goes away. Hips, groin, all the way down their leg, causing weakness, numbness, tingling, like all the sciatic type symptoms, but they can actually get pain all across their back. And then the sacral torsion pain, they'll trace like that, and they'll get diagnosed with piriformis spasm. I can't stand that diagnosis because the Y is not identified and the sacrum's twisted, and that's why it's irritating the piriformis. or they'll get sharp pain at the base of their spine, or achiness across their back with the sacral torsion and shear. And one of the things that, okay, so ready? To my clinician friends, okay? If you ask your patients the following, okay? I've listened to these people for 20 years, okay? And what they tell me is I can't roll over in bed because they're shearing their SI joints. It's out of alignment. I can't sit on certain surfaces. I can't get up in the morning, kind of like an arthritis patient, but they're younger. So they have that symptom where like it takes me a while to get going. Like this lady told me I couldn't tie my, I can't put the leash on my dog for an hour because she can't bend over. It's horrible. And I can't extend back, bend forward, sit on certain surfaces bothers it. They have to figure out where to sit. Some of them, when they go to the grocery store, they have to find a place to sit down, like they've strategically have set up a place to sit down. This is what these people are dealing with. It's horrible. And I see it all day, and they all have the, like so many of them coming here with the outfield everything. It's rare. I don't see anybody with the outfield everything story, I call it. It's horrible. And what makes me happy is that people are using my methods. Join my free school group below, my VIP group, where I'm teaching more in depth, but also those papers that I wrote. So for those of you who are new to following me, in 2020, I started writing papers about how I was getting results in certain conditions that I see in here, and I wasn't worried about treating these people. And I was bold enough to because I've been using these protocols for years, I was bold enough to write on there. I was bold enough to write on there, call the paper root cause of SI joint dysfunction. Another one, root cause of sacral torsion shear, anterior sacral tilt, root cause of plantar fasciitis. I just wrote one, root cause of carpal tunnel syndrome. Now, okay, so sounds like a bold statement, right? But those papers, statistically, I pinned it to my top of my social media channels. The analytics from the journal. Those papers that I wrote on those conditions, I show you right there. Read it. I look at that graphic. Upload it to AI because when I did, it says these are quote landmark, foundational, historic papers in not just the field of orthopedics, but in medicine itself. And it gave me a perspective. It said, in the biggest medical journals in the world, not just orthopedics, in the biggest medical journals in the world, you get 3,000 to 5,000 reads 3 to 5 years post publication. It said yours, look at the analytics, yours are getting 13,000 plus, 12,000, it's off. It said these are literally off the charts. And it's interesting because why would that happen? Why would those papers make medical history statistically in readership? It's not my opinion. Why would it happen? And the reason why is because I hear people all the time that message me, call my office, tell me that their clinic exploded when they started doing my methods, and the reason why is because people are looking for answers. And if you can solve them, then you can help these people, and people refer you everybody they know, and save people from this insanity that happens in the medical system, especially with mechanical issues, man. Mechanical issues. I'm telling you, I treat it all day long. Rib head misalignments. I see people debilitated from that. I didn't think that was possible, but yeah, no, people can become debilitated from that. I saw one lady that couldn't stand up more than 20 minutes for 12 years. She had a rib head misalignment. Nobody knew what to do about it. It's crazy. And then stress injuries, neck tension, TMJ, headaches. Not all headaches, but not all TMJ, but neck tension, I mean, it's like, these are things that don't show up on x-rays and MRIs. So consequently, I see them in here after they've tried everything, So anyways, that's that. But screen every patient from lower thoracic into the foot. I've seen SI go into the foot, the top of the foot, the heel. And I know that because I use my diagnostic method that I publish and I teach in my VIP Inner Circle. Click below. It's free to join where I'm teaching it. And I open up their SI joint, realign it, open it up, and I don't touch their leg, and they're like, yeah, no, it's gone. Look, my foot pain's gone, or the weakness went away. Okay, so anyways, if you want to, I always say to my colleagues, if you ever saw what happened to these people when we fail in the clinic and they end up here in tears after this lady 15, 20 years, she told me of this, tried everything, you know, out of pain, 60 seconds, you know? And it was like, nah, man, you know, I'm glad those papers have gone viral because I want to save people from this insanity. Okay. Anyways, we got Save the Whales. We got Save the Rainforest. How about save the mechanical back pain patients? You know, because I find this in my clinical experience to be the most common cause of low back pain and leg sciatic leg pain. I find it to be the most common cause, and actually, people are actually. I'm talking to people because in this group, and they're like, "I've been doing your SI and sacral methods for years," and they're like, "I'm with you. This is what I've come to the conclusion to, that this is the most common cause of back pain." And I'm like, I got this clinic where people come in here and they just break down sobbing, and I'm like, I'm just thinking SI. Anyways. Please save these people, okay? It's our job to save these people. We are the mechanical experts. Everybody calls himself an expert, but like, what you should see what happens in here. And they all tried physical therapy and chiropractic, whatever, like we need to save these people, okay? This isn't a joke. These people are taking their own lives, okay? Love you all. Peace. Have a great weekend.